LBC's news reporter Victoria Innes has the latest, a roundup really of all the trouble last night. Over to you, Victoria.
Good morning. Yeah, well, as you've been talking about, some quite serious violence seen across large parts of England and Northern Ireland yesterday, of course, following on from that unrest that we saw throughout the week, including in Sunderland on Friday. We saw clashes in Hull, Liverpool, Bristol, Manchester, Stoke-on-Trent, Blackpool, Belfast, and many of them were confrontations, I think, between anti-immigration demonstrators, counter-protesters, and a lot of police officers attacked and injured too. Police were largely expecting it as we headed into the weekend. You know, you had the Police Federation saying officers were gearing up to manage any trouble. They'd got wind of dozens of protests planned. So it didn't come as a surprise, but I think the levels of violence that we saw did come as a surprise. Around 90 people in total arrested, footage after footage of fights breaking out, police having things thrown at them, businesses on fire, you know, cars overturned. Just listen first to what it was like being in Bristol last night. So as you can hear, counter-protesters as well as protesters there in Bristol. I mean, taking a look at some of the other areas quickly, Liverpool, 300 people involved in violent disorder, 23 people arrested. Over in Hull, 20 people arrested, 3 officers there injured. Hull police said vehicles, local businesses subjected to intensive criminal damage, including arson at one shop. Councillor Mike Ross, leader of Hull Council, spoke to LBC News after those riots. Just listen to what he said.
There's been just appalling scenes across the city, as there has been across other parts of the country today. And this is not the city of Hull that I love. This is not the people of Hull that I love. Hull is a proud city. It's a city of great people, and we will react to it. People will come out and they'll help turn the city around from these events. But they shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to go through these sorts of events. It's not right.
And over in Bristol, I mean, some counter-protesters having to surround a hotel that houses asylum seekers to stop protesters from heading that way. Lancashire, 20 people arrested. Staffordshire, 3 police officers assaulted. It keeps on going. There was video after video of those disorders last night.
It's amazing. The climate protesters got 5 years for having a Zoom conversation. What reaction have we got from the government? And any indication about what's going to happen to these people? Because if you get 5 years for having a Zoom conversation, then some of these thugs, they deserve life, double life and hanging.
Exactly. Well, we've heard really strong words from the government all week on this. You know, it's said they will pay the price. The Prime Minister has pledged to give police forces the full support to take action. We heard, obviously, Sir Keir Starmer come up with his plans, some of them at least, at the end of last week. He convened another meeting yesterday. He sort of reiterated, you know, there's a right to freedom of expression, but violent disorder and freedom of expression are two very different things. The Home Secretary, you know, saying anyone engaging in this disorder would face imprisonment, travel bans, and that sufficient prison spaces have been made available. Courts will work 24 hours around the clock if they need to get these people the sufficient punishment. Just listen quickly to the Home Secretary.
Criminal violence and disorder has no place on Britain's streets. We've been clear to the police that they have our full backing in taking the strongest possible action against perpetrators, including we're making sure that there are more prosecutors, there are sufficient prison places, and also that the courts stand ready.
And I think finally it's just worth reiterating that, you know, people in those communities are forced to come out and say this does not represent our community. This is not what we're about. We don't condone this violence. And they've had to spend their weekend clearing up after this unrest, clearing up the debris. And of course, again, it's worth remembering that all of it started in the wake of the killing of these 3 young girls, and lots of people keen to reiterate that that is the thing that we should be focusing on here.